The Shoemaker and the Elves. This is a little story from the Grimm brothers, and I welcome you on my channel. My name is Jadwiga, your fairy tale teller. Once upon a time, there was a shoemaker who was very, very poor, and even though he was working very hard, but for some reason he never reached some wealth, or at least enough to feed himself and his family. So one night he only had leather left for one pair of shoes. So he cut the shapes and then went to bed and wanted to finish or make these shoes the following morning. He went to bed, he said his prayer, he fell asleep, and next morning, after saying his prayer again, went down into the workshop and couldn't believe what he saw. The leather was made into shoes. There stood a pair of really perfectly made shoes. They were even better than he would have ever been able to make them. The stitches so fine and so evenly, on not a single one out of the line, and they were simply perfect. And shortly after he had just recovered from his surprise, a man entered his workshop, saw these shoes, and he loved them so much that he paid even more than the shoemaker asked for them. So now he was able to buy leather for 2 pair of shoes. And the same thing happened. He cut the leather into the shape he needed to make the shoes and then went to bed after saying his prayer, and next morning there were 2 pair of shoes, exactly as perfectly and fine made as the one before. So for some reason, people came into his shop, saw the shoes, loved them, and paid more than he had asked for it. And so it went on and on. Now he was able to buy leather for 4 pairs of shoes, and then for even more and more. And he got used to just cutting the shapes at night and seeing the perfectly made shoes the next morning, and then sold them. So he became really wealthy. And one night he said to his wife, "Well, I really would like to know who does these shoes, who is such a great honor, so who honors us so much that they think we are worth of being gifted all the time." And his wife agreed. So they were hidden behind a curtain and then watched what happened. When the clock struck midnight, 2 little naked men came into the workshop and immediately started to hammer and to stitch and to sew. And when the shoes were all finished, they disappeared. Now, after a while, the wife said to the shoemaker, "Well, these poor little men are naked. I would like to knit them some vests and pants and jackets and maybe even some hats for you, because we're getting winter, it's getting cold, and maybe you make some shoes for them." And the shoemaker thought that this would be a great idea, because these little men had been so generous to them that he wanted to thank them somehow. Now they were busy making the shoes, knitting all the dressings for them, for the little men, and one night put that all onto the workbench, and then they were hiding again and enjoyed when the 2 little men came in. They saw all this clothing and it fit perfectly, and the shoes, oh, it was so wonderful. They were dancing and laughing and had great joy. And then they said, "Well, why should we go on making shoes? We could do something else. We move somewhere else." And off they went and had never ever been seen again. But the shoemaker and his wife still had a good fortune with their business, and they stayed wealthy, and people came and they loved the shoes and bought them and brought them wealth. There is a very similar story that is located in the city of Cologne, of Köln in Germany, and it's called the Heinzelmännchen. Männchen are little men, and the ones in the Shoemakers and the Elves, these little men were called Wichtelmännchen, little men. So in this case, the wife of the shoemaker, she was so curious and she simply wanted to see who was working there every night in their workshop. So she poured out some peas on the stairs, and right, it happened what should happen. When the little Heinzelmännchen, the little men, came to do their work, they were gliding on these peas, falling down the stairs, making a lot of noise, and the shoemaker's wife looked at them and saw them and laughed. Now, this was the end of that story. But I don't think that this shoemaker still was happy and made a good business, because the end was so evil. Yeah, so this Heinzelmännchen, this expression, is still in the German language, and when we see something that is done unexpectedly and we don't know who did that, we say, oh, the Heinzelmännchen have been here. And this is always a great joy. Hope you liked that. Thank you for watching. Give me a thumb if you liked it, and see you next time.